minutes away from beginning the meeting. But before we begin, I'd like to invite you to stand and join me in the pledge, and then I'll bring the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another opportunity you've given us to come and represent our residents at this council meeting. God, we thank you for each of these council members. We thank you for each of our residents who are here tonight for whatever reason. And God, we just ask that you guide the council tonight as they make decisions and make the best decisions for the city of Springdale and for our residents. God, we trust you for that and for that guidance. And we ask it all in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. We might be where we could all have our mics on. I haven't counted them, but I know there's a limit to how many we can have on, but we've got two missing. Guys our tech guys, Amelia can't hear anything. She's on Zoom. I see her on the screen, but she's not hearing us. So if you'll work on that and get that fixed, please. Let's see. All right. I think we'll go ahead and take roll, and we'll find out then if Amelia can hear us. Go ahead, Denise.
Mayor Sprouse.
Here.
Brian Powell.
Here.
Amelia Williams.
Here.
Jeff Watson.
Here.
Mike Overton.
Here.
Mike Lawson.
Here.
Kevin Flores.
Here.
Randall Harriman.
Here.
Mark Fujiroos. Ernest Cate. Here.
All right, thank you. And so we do have a quorum. We're at item 5 on the agenda. This is the portion of each council meeting that the city council sets aside to hear comments from our residents. These are for comments that are not dealing with an issue that's already on tonight's agenda. You'll have an opportunity to speak to those items when that agenda is up. So if there's anybody that would like to address the council briefly on an item that is not already on tonight's agenda, you're welcome to go to the microphone now. Anyone? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, to the approval of minutes. Council, you've had an opportunity to look over those minutes. If there are no changes or additions, I'd entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. All opposed, same sign? Okay. Item 7, procedural motions. What's your pleasure, council?
Move for A and B.
Okay, motion and a second for A and B. Roll call, please.
Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
All right, thank you. And Patsy Christie, our Director of Planning and Community Development, is at the microphone, and we're ready for the Planning Commission report and recommendations. Patsy?
The first item is a rezoning request for 3118 OY Road. It's a .84 acre tract. They are requesting to rezone the property from low medium density residential single family dwelling SF2 to low density multifamily residential district MF2. The Planning Commission recommends approval. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance for the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning certain lands from low medium density single-family residential district SF2 to low-density multifamily residential district MF2 and declaring an emergency.
Patsy, before we move on, is there a way, we've got it on our iPads, but is there a way we can get the map up on the, don't we usually get that?
It's loaded, but somebody needs to start it.
Okay. I
Someone
was thinking about the folks out in the audience.
Somebody in IT needs to load it.
And somebody, and folks at home. Guys, if we can get that working, that'd be great.
I loaded it on the machine before I came back
Okay.
up here,
Okay.
so it
Thank
should be ready to go.
Is this just like a duplex going in on that parcel? Is that what that is?
Did you leave me a, okay. Well, you didn't bring it up, so I didn't know if, oh, that's it. You, okay.
There we go.
There we
Okay,
go.
thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yes, it is still allowed for duplexes,
But it's just,
and it's,
how big's that parcel? Is that just gonna be one or?
it will only have room for one. It has a single-family home on one track, and the other one will be a duplex. The only difference is the same density, it just allows for a duplex rather than a single-family home.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments?
Any issues at planning?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
So you just said, I don't think my mic's working, but,
Let me turn my here.
you said, there's 2 tracks. I don't see that on the map.
It is, already has 2 lots divided. One lot already has a single-family home. It will allow them to put a duplex on the second one. We did a lot split on it, or a replat on it previously.
Well, the legal description is lot 7.
Right, and it has been replatted to be Lot 8, Lot 7A and B, and I don't know that that's been filed yet, but it is in the process of getting all the stuff done for it to be
Well, are we
replatted.
replatting both lots then?
They're
Or
rezoning both lots. Yes, which would allow them in the future to take the single-family home down and put in a duplex if they
So it could
wanted
be
to.
2 duplexes on
Could be.
1 lot,
2 duplexes on 2 lots.
2 lots.
Right, right.
Don't
Could
we
be.
need the ordinance to have the correct legal description?
It has the legal description that exists right now while we're rezoning it. Once the
Well,
plat is approved
so
and
when this
signed.
plat, whatever it's called, Howard Acres, was approved, whenever that was approved,
Right,
the whole thing came in SF2, basically, right?
correct. And they asked to replat it to 2 lots, which met the minimum lot size for an SF2, but it also meets the minimum lot size for an MF2 as well. I'm not sure that the replat has been filed, because it takes a little bit for all that paperwork to get done and get filed before we move forward with it. And they have to extend sewer to both of these facilities before the plat can be filed, and I don't think they've extended the sewer to it yet either. And it's a big expense to extend the sewer line to this piece of property, and Mr. Barrios is looking to get a little bit more return on an investment to put 1 duplex on the second lot because of the cost of extending the sewer to it. And it's too small of a tract to put septic systems on.
So right now, though, we're just talking about lot 7.
It is 1 lot, Lot 7, and it will be replatted to Lots 7A and 7B when the sewer is extended to it and the plat is filed.
Gotcha.
And I think I know the answer to this question, but is it true that we don't really care if there's a restrictive covenant on this Howard Acres that says single family, or is there? Or
I don't think there is, because I looked for one to see if there was any reason for it not to have, and I couldn't find any covenants that existed on that either. Because that was one of my first questions, to see if that was something that we didn't want to be in violation. I could not find any of record. Now, if there was one years ago when it was put into place, they must have expired because nobody had a copy of them.
How is this subdivision? Is it an old one?
It's been around for quite a while, yeah.
Was this part of Bethel Heights?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No. And it is the only lot that actually faces out onto the main road. It's not, it's kind of an outlot as part of the subdivision as well.
Do you know if, and I don't know which one's 7 and which one's 8, but will one of them come off of Apache Trail and one of them?
No.
Both of them will be.
Both of them have
driveways off
access.
of Old-
Yeah,
Old
both
White
of them
Road.
have access off of there. They don't have one to Apache. So it's kind of a different lot in that subdivision anyway. I think the house existed maybe, or I don't know. It's not one I remember too much about. The sewer did not get extended all the way to these lots.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Anybody in the audience? Okay.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Move the merge clause be adopted.
Second.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes. Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 7-0.
And as usual, the emergency clauses included on all these ordinances because they're pending actions on these pieces of property. The next request is to rezone 1.42 acres located at 2353 Lowell Road. The request is to rezone this property from General Commercial District C2 to Medium High Density Multifamily Residential District MF16. This is a portion of a property on the end of that commercial subdivision that also borders the multifamily to the north, and they are requesting it to rezone it to put a 3-story multifamily building on this tract to be included as part of that multifamily complex. It has the amenities. We have the plans for it, but they were requesting to rezone it to MF16. The Planning Commission recommends approval of the rezoning request. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning certain lands from General Commercial District C2 to Medium High Density Multifamily Residential District MF16 and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further questions or comments?
Is this gonna be in addition to those MF12 apartments there, or is?
Yeah, it's going to be another structure. It's just taller. They wanted to do a 3-story. All the rest of them are 2-story, and you can't do a 3-story in MF12, so that's why they went after the MF16.
So does part of this cover the MF12 already rezoned?
I think there's a real technicality as whether or not it's actually into the MF12, and looking at the legal description, it fits into all of the C2, so we didn't have to do both. We are sending all the legal descriptions to IT or to the GIS to have them all checked before we bring to you. I'm hoping that we have them all together by the time they get here.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 7-0.
The next request is to rezone 3.54 acres located on the south side of Sunset Avenue across from the intersection with Sterwin Street. The request is to rezone the property from General Commercial District C2 to Thoroughfare Commercial District C5. The Planning Commission recommends approval of the rezoning request. The title of the ordinance reads an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning certain lands from General Commercial District C2 to Thoroughfare Commercial District C5 and declaring an emergency.
I move the.
And are they doing that for a drive-through or what? I can't remember what the difference was for the C2 to C5 other than that.
Basically, it is for a drive-through.
Yeah.
And we have a large-scale development plan proposed for this that shows 3 buildings, and 2 of them will have drive-throughs.
I think, Randall, you had a motion and Mike seconded. All right, any other further comments or questions? Anyone in the audience? Okay, Denise?
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 7-0.
I never cough till I start doing this. The next item is a request to rezone 0.22 acres. This is our first zoning request to rezone to one of the C districts. If you will remember, it's the Springdale Elective Enhancement Districts. Oh, I gotta change the picture, okay? And this is our very first one. It is located over here at 505 Spring Street. They're requesting to rezone to that C district, which would make it a neighborhood residential type 1. Planning Commission has reviewed this request and recommends approval of the zoning request. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning certain lands from light industrial district I-1 to C District, neighborhood residential type 1, and declaring an emergency.
That has to adhere to the downtown codes.
Yes, they will have to adhere to the downtown form-based code.
Okay.
I move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? Anyone?
Do we still have a East Price Avenue?
Well, I think we actually vacated it. I don't think it's shown up on the maps yet. It's the one through here that got vacated. It just hasn't been updated on the maps yet.
Yeah, okay.
All right, Denise?
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 7-0.
The next item is a request to rezone 2.2 acres located at 2195 East Robinson Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from General Commercial District C2 to Large Product Retail Sales District C6. Planning Commission recommends approval of the rezoning request. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning certain lands from General Commercial District C2 to Large Product Retail Sales District C6 and declaring an emergency.
Move ordinance pass.
Second.
What's going on?
A C6 is for an automobile sales. They're looking to put a new sales location at that corner.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Other questions or comments? Anyone? Okay, Denise?
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell, Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 7-0.
The next item is to rezone 5 acres located at 312 East County Line Road. The request is to rezone the property from Agricultural District A1 and Low Density Single Family Residential District SF1 to Medium Density Multifamily Residential District MF12. Planning Commission reviewed this request and recommends approval. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning certain lands from Agricultural District A1 and Low Density Single Family Residential District SF1 to Medium Density Multifamily Residential District MF12 and declaring an emergency.
Was there any pushback on that?
No.
Move the ordinance pass.
Second.
Is it
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Go ahead, Randall.
going from, next door in SF1 to a MF12 without a buffer, is that a typical thing that we do?
The MF12 has a restriction that nothing can be any taller than 2-story.
Okay.
And so an MF12 works as a buffer to a residential district because you can't put tall buildings that would be able to look down into single-family residences, and we've used those in several places as a buffer between the two. There's kind of a mixture of development on that street. We've got some new commercial going in. You see there's some industrial. There's some planned commercial on the other side. So this kind of serves as a buffer to that residential that was in Bethel Heights that came into the city.
So MF12 is a 2-story.
2-story, no more than duplex,
Triplex.
threeplex, fourplex, nothing taller than 2 stories, no more than 12 units per acre. They have to start out at 8 units per acre in an MF12 and meet multifamily design standards to get up to 12, which is additional amenities, open space, and/or materials that the buildings are built with.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? Anyone?
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am. Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 7-0.
The next item is a revision to the PUD that was approved for this 46.5 acres located along the west side of Downham Road, north of County Line Road, known as the Cottages at the Park. What they are asking to do is increase the final phase of this project from 55 lots by 8 lots to make 63 lots, and that's the only amendment that they're making. All of the requirements in the development plan and/or the covenants will all stay the same. I'll read through all those if you want me to, but trust me, they haven't changed. They're only adding 8 more lots for a total of 63.
And that doesn't affect any of the other covenants? Okay.
No, doesn't affect anything else. Everything stays the same. If you want me to go over the highlights, I can.
Please don't.
Okay. I brought them just in case you were bored or you needed something else to do tonight. So the Planning Commission recommends approval of this rezoning request. The title of the ordinance reads an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, the plat pertaining thereto, by rezoning certain lands from planned unit development PUD to planned unit development revised and declaring an emergency. And the new development plan and site plan and covenants will all be attached to this ordinance as it was done in the beginning.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Anybody have any more comments or questions?
I do.
Okay.
So how do they come up with room for 8 more lots?
They're actually using more of that area with the same kind of housing that they started. They intended at the very beginning to do some larger lot, single family, but I think, and Jason's here can address this if I'm misspeaking, they've had such great success with what they're doing, they can extend it a little bit further. I don't think they knew how well it would work
And are the 8 lots shown on the
revised site plan, and I can't move it for some reason.
plat that we have on our
Yeah.
notepad?
I can't move it.
Do you know, Jason?
Yeah, it does.
Where are they?
And it's just a minor change to the south side. If you'll see that there's one street that needs to be aligned up with the other, but it was just a very minor change to get those extra 8 lots. It's 2 blocks. Yeah. Yeah.
So they're the same side on the south as they are on the north?
And if you go out there and look, they built quite a few of them. There's a lot of houses going in out there, and it looks really good. So, Steve, you're going to have to let go so I can move this.
But this is, the phase 2 was larger. Phase 2 was the same as phase 1.
Right.
It was the same, okay.
Right. And phase 3 was going to be larger lots because they had intended to change the housing type, not knowing how well this is going to go, but it has gone really well, and it looks really good out there too.
So we're going from what to 8? How many?
They're going from a total of 55 lots in the PUD to 63. They added 8 more lots. And the street configuration stays the same. There's some alley that needs to be realigned, and we talked about that at Planning Commission, and that's just a matter of shifting it over so it still works. It has connections to the trail system. It has connections to the park, just as all the rest of it had.
So basically, they just took away some of the bigger lots and made them into smaller lots.
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? Okay, Denise?
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes. Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 7-0.
Steve, I can't control the slides now. Do you have control of the computer?
Here you come.
Did my battery die or something? Okay,
There we go.
there we go. We got it finally. Okay, the next item is 1.75 acres located at 518 West West County Line Road. The request is to rezone this property from A1, Agricultural District A1 to General Commercial District C2. Planning Commission recommends approval of this rezoning request. The title of the ordinance reads, an ordinance amending ordinance number 3307, the same being the zoning ordinance of the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and the plat pertaining thereto by rezoning lands from Agricultural District A1 to General Commercial District C2 and declaring an emergency. And the property that's right adjacent to it to MF12 is being rezoned to commercial as well.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions?
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Move the merge clause be adopted.
Second.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes. Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 7-0.
The next item is the final plat for Benedetto subdivision Phase 2. The Planning Commission has reviewed this final plat, recommends approval. The title of the ordinance reads an ordinance accepting the final plat of Benedetto subdivision Phase 2 to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency.
Move the ordinance pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions about this ordinance? Anyone in the room?
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Move the merge clause be adopted.
Second.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 7-0.
Next item is the final plat for the subdivision known as Spyglass Estates. Planning Commission reviewed this request and recommends approval of this final plat. The title of the ordinance reads an ordinance accepting a new addition to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, to be known as Spyglass Estates subdivision, a subdivision to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency.
Did you mention something about a retention pond on this last time?
There are 6 lots in this subdivision. It has a detention pond that's on the south side. The way the detention pond is designed for the lots to be raised to get the water into the detention pond. Right now, those lots have not been filled, and the detention pond, it's hard for the water to get into. So the water's standing on the north side and runs around on the outside. It technically does not make the situation worse in that area. It just, the lots not being graded to what they're supposed to be on the final plat doesn't allow the water to get into the detention pond. My concern at the meeting was there's nothing to indicate that those lots have to be built on at any time, and so this situation could sit for a while. That was my concern.
We have the ability to require the property owner to fix that if they're not going to build on it? Do we have some kind of mechanism?
Well, once the final plat is approved, the lots can be sold. They can come and apply for building permits. I don't think we dictate which order they have to build on the lots. It's one of those situations, I think, that if the requirement was that the lot had to be filled before we did the final plat and the grading been done, then there wouldn't be that issue. But that's not something that we have required. It is a comment that it has to be done when the lots are built. It just creates the situation in the meantime.
Yeah, and depending on what order these lots are sold and built on, you may have, we may have that problem for a while.
That was my point at Planning Commission meeting the other night, yes.
What was the resolution to your point?
Well, the planning commission moved it forward with recommendation for approval because technically it meets the city's ordinance requirements that when it is completed, the drainage will not be any worse than it is.
Building permit covers the height of the pad and the drainage. So that's,
I'm sorry, I can't hear him.
Oh, Mike, you need to turn your mic on.
well, I said the building permit is what's going to control that because they'll control the height of the pad and the drainage on that lot because it'll have to conform to the drainage plan for the,
Yeah, and I'm not arguing that issue. When it gets built, I think it's fine.
and the point
It's-
being that the control is the building permit and the inspections on the site, when it's constructed.
But the mayor's question was, can we tell them the order? I mean, how long does that lot sit before it gets something built
Sits-
on it?
sits
And then in the
till it's
meantime, the
sold, but
water
it-
stands there. Yeah.
But with the demand for lots now, particularly in that location, it's not gonna take them long to sell the lots.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. I just wondered,
Can you show the plat again?
if this gets to be a long-term problem, what's our answer?
It's
For
just 6 lots.
standing water.
It's not it's not a major development. They didn't have to do any street improvements because the improvements were done on Turner Street. The improvements were already done on Spyglass. They built the detention pond. Long-term, it works. It's just the interim that's the problem.
Jeff, it's just north of the Carroll Trimble subdivision, there's Spyglass.
My concern's the same as the mayor. I went out there today, and there is standing water on it as of today, late this afternoon. And I did go out in the last month during a heavy rain, and it's clear what everybody's talking about. It runs from Turner to Spyglass, and what's there doesn't handle or it doesn't get to it. And really, the people in Spyglass are really paying the price. And I want to protect them but I don't know how exactly we do that.
Well, this has been flooding for
Yeah, but
years,
it's a
though. I
pond.
mean, it,
Didn't this start like over a
mean,
year
it-
ago, almost 2 years ago? when he
It's been
straightened
going
it out?
on.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
whole
I mean,
subdivision.
this subdivision's been going on a while, but
Right.
when it gets finished, the water will come across those lots, go down into this detention pond and go to Turner Street. So it helps it's not going to totally eliminate the flooding problem there on Spyglass. But it's the interim or the water standing on. That was my concern.
Long-term, this helps.
Right. Long-term, it addresses the situation. It's the short-term that we have of water standing and not knowing how soon those lots are going to be built on.
Brad, do you have any ideas? I don't know if you and Katie have talked about this. In the interim, if this standing water is a problem, do we have any way to rectify that?
We would need to have a provision in our standards that says if the elevation of the lot is an integral part of the drainage system, it doesn't say that now, then we could require it.
So for this project, we
Nothing
really
covers
don't have.
No.
Okay. Well, I'm like, Mr. Overton, I think this'll move fast, but what if it doesn't, is my concern. So, and I don't know what the other alternatives are.
I guess my only comment to that is common sense has got to tell you the drainage works only when it's filled, whether it specifically says you filled a lot or not. You know, that, I asked, could we do a bill of assurance that within a certain amount of time that lot was filled and take care of that, and that didn't get anywhere, because I don't know if we can do that or not.
I think in theory that all sounds good, but how do you protect the people in Spyglass that when it's all said and done, we still don't have an issue?
Well, they've always had the problem there, and this is not gonna make it any, that much worse, because the whole idea, this will move to the detention pond faster once these get constructed. and
This
then
made
we'll
it
have to
worse
try-
than what it was originally. I agree that there was a problem, but this made it worse, so.
They're getting the same water they always had, but they haven't had this, maybe the standing water issue that, we've created another standing water issue.
Because they graded it off
Right.
prior to building the pads.
Until this is all developed.
Yeah, but the pads will be up 18, 20.
And it's a very tight design. I mean, the slope's pretty straight. But it will when it's, you know, everybody tells me, and I know just enough engineering to be dangerous, but I still know water runs downhill. When that lot is filled, I think it will work. But in the meantime, as you can see in that picture, we got standing water down there.
Well, this
And
is
it's still there.
obviously this, I'm not trying to speak for everybody here, but this is a good project for the area. It's a good project for Springdale. I'm just, we don't have, it's to you, the council, and of course, we can take comments from anyone in the room that wants that, but right now, we don't have a motion.
Ernest, can we ask for a bill of assurance on that lot that it is either graded or a building permit is to be issued in a certain amount of time?
Which lot are you referring to?
The two that are adjacent to the detention pond itself. There's
1 and
actually,
6.
there's actually two lots there. It's the bottom two lots. If they're graded,
Yes.
at least that keeps it from standing on those two lots.
I would think that there's something in the drainage criteria manual that would pertain to this. I hadn't been made aware of this before right now, but it seems to me that the drainage criteria manual should address this because we have other places where, you know, there's no construction going on and we have water issues and we have ways to address that. I mean, one of those pictures, I see I guess that's the silt fence has come down, for example. That's a violation. So, I mean, I'm not the drainage or stormwater expert, but I think that's why we have these manuals, is to keep these things from happening. I'm happy to go back and take a look, if you want me to. Like I said, this is the first that's been brought to my attention, but not to mention that if it could theoretically be an unsightly and sanitary condition, which can be addressed by city ordinance as well, becomes a, you know, place where it's causing mosquitoes or smell or something, that could be addressed. But I know that doesn't necessarily address moving water. Addresses standing, it can theoretically address standing water. So,
I think Stan?
Is there a way to table this until we have the answers to those questions on the legal side of that?
You can sure table it. But before we do, our issue is standing water. It's not moving water in this particular issue. Is that right? I mean, moving water has always happened here, and we hope to
Right.
address that. We hope the development will help that when it's developed.
Right, I think it's the standing water on both sides of the detention pond that need to be addressed, and for an interim until houses are built.
I mean, at least we're entering a time of year where standing water doesn't bring the concerns that it does in the summer.
I was told
Yeah.
by a neighbor the other day that the water's been standing long enough that the geese come there, so I don't know if that's true or not, but they may just be flying through and found it.
So where that water is standing right there, that's where the houses are going, right?
Right, on the north side of, on
On the left side of the
on
picture.
the left side of the picture.
Southwest corner.
Yeah.
Correct. But the houses are going where that water's standing right there on the left-hand side.
Correct. Part of the
And-
yard will be.
And when
in
this
it.
road, when the road's built, it's gonna go back towards Turner. It's not gonna go on Spyglass, correct?
There's no roads to be built. The detention pond will pick up the water and take it to Turner Street, but there are no roads to be built there. These lots have roads on both sides. 3 of the lots will face onto Spyglass, and 3 of them will face onto
Oh, okay.
Turner Street. So there's no street construction to be done on this project.
So if we table this,
If we have something in place that discusses the standing water issue, I'd like to know what that is. Standing water drainage issues.
Well, they're not gonna wanna build it on a lot that holds water. I mean, they're gonna build it up above the retention pond when they get built.
Yeah, I don't think, I agree, Randall. We're not, and I'm not concerned about what'll happen when it's built.
Right.
I'm concerned about the time. We don't have any assurances of how much time we're talking about. Is the developer here, or would they like to, are they able to speak to that at all? I know they're not required to.
I don't see anybody, and I don't see their
Okay.
and for-
engineer here
For
either.
clarity, if we table this, it'll go to potentially January 11th?
Potentially.
I feel like these are gonna move fast. I mean, I feel comfortable making a motion to approve as presented.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this?
I have a couple questions.
Yeah, we will. Jeff, okay. I just thought there might be somebody here. Go ahead, Jeff.
So I'd like to know about, lot number 7. Who's gonna, that's where the detention pond is, right?
Right.
And the developer's gonna sell lots 1 through 6.
And the city takes ownership of the detention pond.
Is that what we want?
That's what we do on all residential subdivisions. We take ownership of the detention pond.
I guess we do that to help ensure that they're properly maintained.
Correct.
And we have to
Yeah.
mow it and everything?
Correct.
So if the problem's not resolved, and I think it will be, I would agree with everybody else, if it's not resolved, is it on us then to fix it? Since we've got the drainage that don't work?
We don't actually take ownership until after,
Once the final plat is, they have to maintain it for 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that, speaking to some of the residents, I know a lot of people over there, the houses that are there on Spyglass had to be built way up because of this very reason. And I'm confident that they'll build these up. I'm like the mayor is, I think it'll be fast, but
Well,
I'm
and the
just trying
plat
to-
sets the elevations for those lots when they're ready to build. That's not the issue. I think in the long term, it will be done like it's supposed to be done. There's no guarantee when these lots are going to be built on and how long that water sits there. That's the concern.
What was the vote at planning commission? Do you remember? Do you have that?
It was a
in front
unanimous vote at planning
Okay.
commission.
of you? I had to leave before this issue came up.
So how are we assured that they will build up lots 1 and 6 to a higher elevation?
The
Mike, how
plat,
do we do that?
the plat itself has
Right.
the information on it of what the elevation has to be.
Yeah, the elevations are set. They'll be what they have to
Yes.
be.
Okay, so how do we assure that that happens?
Well, they can't get a building permit until
That
it's
right,
set at
Mike?
the elevation where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that process is in place.
We've got it covered once we get a building permit for it. We don't know how long that lot is gonna sit empty. And, y'all can, if you're comfortable that it's gonna go fast enough, that's a decision you all have to make. I have to point out to you that there is an issue in the
Yeah,
interim.
but what's our alternative?
Well, that's Ernest talking about, can we do some kind of a bill of assurance that requires if something's not built on that house on those lots within whatever the time frame is, the lots will be graded to the elevation they need to be to make the detention pond work.
I mean,
Well, I assume as a neighbor, you want this thing built on as fast as possible, and the longer we drag it out, the
I
further it's
agree.
gonna get.
Which is, why would we allow a detention pond to be built that won't collect water once it's built?
It is designed to collect water once the houses and the lots are filled. And I think as Brad said, we may need to look at a change in our ordinance that if that's the way it's designed, those lots have to be graded to that level before we do the final plat, and we don't have this issue again.
Right.
Brad,
So the concern is for people on lots like 4, 3, 5, 2. If they build, then they're going to be sitting next to 2 lots possibly that aren't built on yet and that are holding standing water that could create problems. Is that right?
Correct.
I don't know that for a fact.
Because if you grades 5 and 2, if you build on 5 and 2, you're gonna have a big old pond right there.
Right,
Right next to the retention pond.
right.
So the retention pond is built to grade to Turner.
Correct.
Right.
And so that means that the standing water is standing because the grade is lower than the ditch at Turner, which,
Well, if you look at the picture, there's a bank on you can't get into
There you go.
you can't get into the lot those 2 lots to the north of it are not filled enough to get into the detention pond itself.
which,
The water stands.
ergo my question again, why would we want to approve something that's going to create a hazard?
It's already created.
It's there, the water problem's been.
The
there for
detention pond
25
hadn't been there forever. The detention pond had to be built.
So,
Yeah, and it has,
And it has elevations. It had planned elevations.
so the detention pond on this picture is that white stripe.
Yeah, that whole, the whole area.
That's the detention pond, right? Where the white stripe is and it's berms on each side of it.
Mhm.
So you got water on the left side of the picture, which, as Randall said, that's where the lots 1 and
whatever the numbers.
Six
1 and 6.
are in the house and will be built up. What about to the right, to the south of the berm on the detention pond? What's happening there?
I don't think there's any other improvements to be done on that side.
Well, that looks like that's holding water.
Well, I agree with that too. I can't,
That, yeah, that right there. What are we gonna do about that?
Well, I think that water, it looks to me like that's there because of some low spots that will have to be addressed, but that water will go to Spyglass, will it not? Or will it go to Turner?
I'm not the engineer. You've gone beyond my degree here in engineering. I know enough to be dangerous, that's it.
Brad, will that be addressed at any point? That picture there, where the water Jeff's talking about that's outside of the development of these 6 lots? Will there have to be some grading done to get that water somewhere? I know that's probably an unfair question with just looking at a
I
picture.
can't tell from this picture. You'd have to look at the grading permit and the grades. It looks to me like there needs to be a little more grading.
Right.
Well, more than likely, what's happened over the years, before all this work started over here on this new subdivision, is the property from the south was probably flowing that direction. Now we've built a berm there that's keeping it from going anywhere, and now we've got a holding ditch there. There's no way for it to get out.
I guess the question is, for me, and it goes to Jeff's comments, as this project moves forward, when it does, will all that standing water have a way of being addressed?
It should, but I don't know. I didn't review these plans, so we need to take another look at that.
Did we get a motion to table?
No, we got a motion and a second to
I move we
approve.
table to the first meeting in
Well,
January.
I think we've got to deal with we've got a motion and a second, yeah, on the floor.
What happens if we turn it down?
Let me,
Then you can make a motion.
Then you can make whatever motion you want to.
let me
Well, if
just,
we turn it down, they're turned down, can they, I mean, it's over.
That's true.
let me remind you what the standard is on a final plat. It's whether it meets the minimum standards of the city. That's the standard when you review a subdivision plat.
And
Does it meet the minimum standards of the city's ordinances?
And I assume to Patsy's comment earlier, that's probably why we got the unanimous vote from the planning commission, because they believe that this met our minimum standards. So regardless of this project, we probably need to, as Brad, you've mentioned, we need to look at those standards and come up with a way maybe where we're not in this situation again. Okay.
I sure would like to have engineering look at it first, though.
I would too.
Well, we've got a motion and a second to approve. And we do have, I mean, the way building and real estate's going, I would think they would certainly move as quickly on this as they can. But again, we're just back to not having any assurances of that. So, are there any other comments or questions?
Yeah, what happens if we vote it down?
Can they appeal?
Can the motion be amended?
No, this doesn't have to wait a year. I mean, they'll go back and look at it again. We'll go through technical plat review again and bring it back again because they'll
So
want,
it's not one of those kind of things that you can't bring back.
no.
What's the fastest they can bring it back up?
Well, if it has to go back for review, we're talking about the January meeting before it can go
Who
back
made
for
the
review.
motion to,
Randall?
Randall,
any chance y'all want to pull it back and table this till January?
would it go back to planning commission, or would it come straight back to
No,
council?
it would just go to staff and we would meet with the developer and his engineers, see if we could come up with some kind of assurance to alleviate the concerns we have about that standing water.
Could we table it and do the same thing?
That's what we're.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can table it and it'll come back to the January meeting.
So it would take an amendment.
Or he could withdraw.
Randall would have to agree to amend his, or to
Or
withdraw his motion.
What are we expecting to get out of this next thing? Just an assurance that somebody's gonna drain water? Because right now, we've hit the minimum standards. If the standards
You're right.
have a problem with the standards, we need to redo the standards.
But the standards have been met.
Right.
That's the point.
I mean, this has been a flood area. I lived right there.
Yeah, it is,
next to
they have issues.
I
And
live
it-
2 blocks from there, there's been a water problem there for 30 years.
Well, it's time to fix it.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. If there's no other comments, then we'll call for the vote.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
No.
Watson,
No.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
No, ma'am.
Flores,
No, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Fails by a vote of 4-3.
Okay, so they can, okay, so it fails tonight. It fails tonight, so they can still work with our staff and hopefully come back with a plan that makes the council comfortable in January.
We'll come back with, we'll
whenever
discuss
you
the
get it-
concerns
whenever you
that we
get that
have of the
plan.
standing water and see what we can come up with before it comes back in January.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, everybody understand? Everybody straight?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on. The next item is a conditional use for a use unit 44, which is a mobile vending. The planning commission reviewed this request and recommends approval of the mobile vending. It's at 214 East Robinson. The planning commission recommends the approval with the following conditions.
See if you can get us a picture, Patsy, before
Oh,
you start
sorry.
that, please. Thank you.
There's the lot.
There
This
it
is
is.
one
That's
that's
church,
going
isn't it?
in the back corner of the church, right. May not operate between the hours of 10 PM and 7 AM. No obstruction of parking spaces required for the operation of any other use on the site. Maintain on the site a minimum of 3 parking spaces designated for their use. If the health certificate is required, display the health certificate in a manner visible to customers. No obstruction of pedestrian or motor vehicle traffic flow, no obstruction of traffic signals or regulatory signs, no vending upon a public way, no sound devices that produces a loud and raucous noise in violation of the city ordinance or violate any other city ordinances in connection with the vending operation. Keep the vending site clean and free of paper or refuse of any kind generated from the operation of their business. All trash or debris accumulating within 20 feet of any vending stand collected and deposited into a trash container, self-contained mobile vending unit, no utility hookups, submission of an approved gray water and grease disposal method, and no sign other than on the mobile vending unit. And here's some pictures of the mobile vending unit that they're putting at this location.
I was at planning commission for this one. I don't remember any issues that the commission brought up.
And they were agreeable to the conditions that we.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any other comments or questions?
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes, ma'am.
Powell,
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
The next request is for a use unit 44 for mobile vending location to be located at 1108 Southwest End Street. Planning Commission reviewed this request and recommends approval with the following conditions. Parking and loading areas identified may not operate between the hours of 10 PM and 7 AM. Health certificate is required. Display the health certificate in a manner visible to customers. No obstruction of pedestrian or motor vehicle traffic flow. No obstruction of traffic signals or regulatory signs. No vending upon a public way. No sound devices that produces a loud and raucous noise in violation of city ordinance or violate any other city ordinances in connection with the vending operation. Sites to remain clean and free of paper or refuse of any kind generated from the operation of the business, with all trash or debris accumulating within 20 feet of any vending site to be collected and deposited into trash container. Electric service is required to be underground, and submission of an approved gray water and grease disposal method.
Move that resolution pass.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions from anyone?
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
The next request is for a use unit 28, a home occupation family daycare in a low medium density single-family residential district, SF2, located at 4492 Warwick Cove. Planning Commission reviewed this conditional use request and recommends approval. The requirement for the daycare family home is single-family home occupied by the caregiver, must be operated within licensing procedures established by the state. The use is limited to 10 children, including the caregivers. The minimum to qualify for home occupation is 6 children from households other than the caregiver. It has to be in compliance with the following: no alteration of the outside appearance of the residential structure or provision of separate outside entrance for the business area of the residential structure. No outside storage of materials required for the operation of the business, operated only by the resident members of the household and shall not have any employees, concessionaires, or any other form of operator or helper, whether such business is conducted on the premises or off the premises. Requires the use of no area no greater than 30% of the total heated living space of the residential structure. Generates no traffic, parking, and sewage or water use in excess of what is normal in the residential neighborhood. Will not produce any fumes, odors, noise, or any other offensive effects that are not normal to residential activity. Will not involve accessory structures. Stock and trade shall not exceed 10% of the floor area. Will not require the construction of a duplicate kitchen. Or the addition to the existing condition will not cause the consumption on the premise of any food product produced thereon. Will not provide medical treatment, therapeutic massage, or similar activities.
Move the resolution be adopted.
Now second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Are there any other questions or comments?
What was the vote at planning on this? You know?
It was unanimous.
Yeah, Mike, I was here, and I remember we actually had a couple of residents here to speak in favor.
Yes, one lady who works with, provides a training program for home daycares and talked to us about the need of these kind, and the condition of this home was immaculate. And this lady had been through training, and she was working with this organization to have the additional training to provide a good quality daycare center.
It seems like most of the questions were about parking, and those I thought were addressed pretty well.
The neighbor adjacent to it didn't, and as you can see, it's on the end of a cul-de-sac. She was not concerned. Her child goes to this daycare, so she was very much in favor of it.
To me, if I lived at the end of a cul-de-sac, it's just creating a lot of traffic. That would be my concern. I guess that lady would be for it if she's gonna get some benefit from it, but if I lived on a cul-de-sac and it's a lot of traffic for.
I think
She did indicate that they would stagger times.
Right.
If they needed
Yes.
to cut down on those concerns and try to address that problem as it goes forward.
How many neighbors had to be notified for the conditional use?
All the adjacent.
So 4488 and 4487, or?
And the ones on the north side, that's all the ordinance requires, is those that are adjacent. But there is a sign put on the property so that the neighbors living on the street would know that it was
But the
coming
neighbors
forward.
live on the street, they gotta drive all the way to the end of the cul-de-sac to know something's going on?
Well,
If
it's,
they live on that street, they're not notified, right?
no, the requirement is only the adjacent property owners, and the sign is put on the location of the conditional use request only.
It goes back to my point, if I lived in one of those houses, I think I'd be disappointed. with the
Well,
traffic.
Mike, I
not
was
saying
thinking
it's a
this,
bad idea,
yeah, I
it's
was
just-
thinking the same thing, but after I heard the comments about how the traffic, I was imagining a lot more traffic than what is gonna be generated from these kids they're keeping. That's what I took away from the meeting. Especially if it's not all at the same time.
And if it's approved, there is a mechanism, because this is a conditional use,
Right.
if there is a complaint, it can be brought to, back for.
Reconsideration, yeah.
What's your pleasure, council?
I made a motion, I believe, to move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? Any neighbors or anybody else need to speak to this?
You know, the ordinance of who we have to tell when we're doing stuff, that's a question that gets brought up a lot, you know, to me about, you know, the rock quarry and and things like this. And, you know, if we're not getting the information out to enough people, then we may need to revisit that as well in the future. I know it'll open a can of worms, but, you know, neighbors need to be notified when things like this are happening.
At one time, we had the requirement that everybody within 300 feet had to be notified. It was determined by the council that that was excessive. We pulled it back to the adjacent property owners only. We put a sign on the property. It's advertised in the newspaper, and people are told that they can get on the city's notification system if they want to be notified. Those are sent out, and that's the way the ordinance reads right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions before we vote?
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
No, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Carry 6-1.
Before we move on to Finance Committee, going back to just a comment on the spyglass. Brad, while you and Patsy, and while y'all are working with the developer to try and find a good way to assure what the council's asking, go ahead, and I know you'll be thinking about changes that we need to make too, that you can bring forward to council soon, as a proposal to change our process there.
I've already jotted one down.
Okay.
My suggestion is, that we have a provision that grading must be completed to prevent standing water before the final plat is approved. And that
Okay.
could probably be added to the.
Why don't you bring that
development
forward
Okay.
to the next committee meeting, and let's let them discuss it then.
Okay.
See what okay, thank you. Right. Yeah, that would be better then. No, let's go ahead and start the process, and then council can deal with it after planning commission does. Or, well, if that's what y'all want to do, we could go ahead and discuss it at committee, and then it could be referred for a public hearing. Yeah, okay. Gotcha. All right. Thanks, Patsy. Thanks, everybody. Item 9, Finance Committee, and Chairman Jeff Watson.
So
Jeff?
the Finance Committee met a couple of weeks ago on a Friday morning and into the afternoon to look over the mayor's proposed budget for the year 2022. And at the end of that day, it was forwarded or continued on to the committee meeting the following Monday night. At the committee meeting, the Finance Committee did forward the proposed budget to council with recommendation for approval with the minor changes that were discussed that were asked to be made, and I think they were. The resolution, title of the resolution reads, "A resolution approving the City of Springdale, Arkansas budget for the year 2022.
Move the resolution pass.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? Anyone in the audience? Okay, Denise?
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes,
Overton,
No.
Not surprisingly, carry
glad to
6-1.
see.
I was really ready to have a special moment if Overton voted yes, but I guess he robbed me of that special moment, so.
Part of the budget process, then, every year, we also, look at an ordinance to set the, salaries for elected officials. Did we forward that? Did we take action on this? I can't remember.
We talked about it, and it was decided that that was actually part of the proposed budget, so it forwarded with the proposed budget, but
And
it
there
has,
was a change. I think city attorney had been left off. I
Right.
see it's added now.
That's right.
The title to this ordinance reads, An ordinance setting the salaries of the elected officials and planning commission members of Springdale, Arkansas, and repealing ordinance number 5543.
This is based off the recommendation of
Second.
municipal league.
We have a motion and a second. What was that,
The
Kevin?
recommendation of the municipal league is that we set these salaries by ordinance.
Yeah, I think we have to, every year.
So we repealed last year's ordinance.
But as far as, I mean, what, we got an increase on city council, right?
Yes.
What was that determined by?
And we increased all of them, the proposal is to increase all of them by 8%. Same increase as the elected officials, other elected officials. Same percentage increase. Other comments or questions? Anyone?
Flores,
No, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Carry 6-1 has an emergency clause to take effect January 1st if the emergency clause is adopted.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Emergency clause carries 7-0.
At the Monday evening committee meeting, Finance Committee also considered the contract for Phase 2 Dean's Trail. And that resolution was forwarded to council with recommendation for approval. The title of that resolution is a resolution authorizing the execution of a construction contract for Dean's Trail Phase 2.
Move the resolution pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Brad's here if we have any questions. Any questions or comments? Anyone in the audience?
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
Finance Committee further considered the offer for the sale of property in the former area of Bethel Heights, property that came in from Bethel Heights. And it's an old house, as I understand it.
Right.
And the Finance Committee did recommend the sale of that property, recommended the forwarding of the resolution to the council with recommendation for approval. The title to the resolution is a resolution authorizing the sale of property located at 219 East Apple Blossom Avenue to Guadalupe Masonry Homes, LLC.
Move the resolution passed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions or comments?
Williams,
No.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Carries 6-1.
Council further, the Finance Committee further considered a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept the gift of land. The resolution was forwarded to council with recommendation for approval. The title to that resolution is a resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk of the city of Springdale to accept a gift of land from BCR Development, LLC.
Move the resolution passed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions? Comments? Anyone in the room?
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes, ma'am.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
Finance Committee considered payment of hazard pay for police and fire department staff. And that resolution was forwarded to council with recommendation for approval. The title to that resolution is a resolution to authorize hazard pay for police and fire department staff that have been and remain in direct contact with the public during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Move the resolution passed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any other comments or questions?
Now, I will point out, there was some discussion at the Finance Committee that and I think it's item 10H where we talk about the total amount, and we had, at the finance committee, we had said $1 million ought to be enough. But apparently, once they ran the numbers, when you put this resolution and the next resolution together, it comes out to $1,020,000.
Right.
This one's $650,000 for the police and fire.
Right.
It's actually 705, there's a revised resolution.
There's a title, no difference on the titles though, right?
No.
No.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
I'm sorry, I said 650,000, 705,000.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes, ma'am.
Howe,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
The Finance Committee also considered recovery pay for city staff and forwarded that to proposed resolution to council with recommendation for approval. And the title to that resolution is a resolution to authorize recovery pay for city staff to aid in the responding to the public health and economic impacts of COVID-19.
The resolution pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any other comments or questions? Okay, Denise?
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
Jeff, let me say too, I know this was a question at committee, that Denise and her staff are ready and with this approval tonight, those checks will go out this week, right? Friday. That's this week. So that's, our folks will be getting them before Christmas. I know that was important to y'all and thankful for Denise and her staff in getting this done. And thank you for approving it.
Thank you, Laura.
Mhm. Thank you.
Item 9H may need a little bit of explanation. Colby, maybe just to explain why we're doing 9H. But this resolution was forwarded to council with recommendation for approval. And the title to the resolution is a resolution to authorize the provision of government services for the citizens of Springdale, Arkansas from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds.
Jeff, this is the money that we're shifting over from the ARPA fund into the general fund to pay the previous two resolutions.
Move the resolution passed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there further questions or comments?
And that's the $1,020,000, right? Does that need changing in this ordinance, or did you hand out a new one?
I think it's in the one.
We got a new.
we have three resolutions, three of them.
So the motion and second are for the resolution that's been amended, that's before you, part of tonight.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Carry 7-0.
All right, thank you, Jeff. We'll move on now to, I think the next one is our city attorney, Ernest.
Thank you. This is an ordinance authorizing the city clerk to file a cleanup lien for the removal of overgrown brush and debris on property located within the city of Springdale, Washington County, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. Property located at 705 Buford.
Move the ordinance to adopt.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there anyone that needs to address this property, this ordinance?
Harriman,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Move the emergency clause to be adopted.
Second.
Howe,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman.
Yes.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 7-0.
All right, thank you. And item 11, I'll go ahead and read it as Wyman comes to answer any questions, and Angie's here too from the museum. A resolution authorizing the execution of a contract for architect services at Shiloh Museum. Angie's making her way to the microphone. This has to do with the old log cabin, right, Angie?
Yes, correct. It's for renovations that have long needed, and Gary Clements has done lots of work with the city, and he does lots of work at Shiloh Museum, and we trust that.
Good deal. And this is paid for by the foundation.
Right, we have funds designated for that specifically.
Move the resolution pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any other questions or comments?
Williams.
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
All right, item 12, do we have any additional comments from council members?
Mayor, I do. I have one. You know, we're going to do an extension of Dixieland in our future developments in Springdale. And I'd like to put forward a recommendation for the council to consider naming that portion of the extension of Dixieland after our former police chief, Truman Brewer.
Okay,
And I would support that.
okay, thank you, guys. Procedurally, what do we need to do next if the council wants to move forward with that?
We can, we'll consult the statute, make sure that there's not any time impediments to this being brought forward, and we would bring it forward as a resolution. We did similarly with John T. Hussey. When
Right.
we did that designation, we did it the same way.
Okay. Blake, if the fire department has any, or EMS has any concerns, it's a road that's not there now, so I wouldn't imagine there'd be any
My
concerns.
question is, and I think Mike explained this to me, but I just want to make sure, is it just a sign like the John Hussey, or are we
Just-
actually going to be?
Just like the Dick Trammell sign that's on 265 in Fayetteville from Crossover
So
Road.
when these people have addresses on this new road, will it still be Dixieland addresses, or will it be?
It'd still be Dixieland addresses,
Well,
but
that's
this is
the only
just,
thing I want to make sure of,
it's,
Mayor.
this is just a memorial dedication for a public servant that spent a career here and actually was police chief twice.
Yeah, that's great. I just want to make sure that we're not getting in a situation
Yeah.
where there are different addresses.
Glad you brought that up. So Blake, I don't suppose there'd be any impact on EMS or anything like that, so. Okay, good. Well, we'll do what's necessary to bring that forward so that y'all can formalize that after the first of the year. Good. Any comments from city attorney?
No, sir.
All right, the only one I've got is the discussion on how you want to handle a possible second meeting this month. Would we need a motion to not hold that second meeting? We normally do it. We did have the second meeting last year. Oh, we normally do it by motion.
Well,
Okay.
since we went ahead and passed the budget this year at the first meeting in December, traditionally, we have, what do you call it, waived?
Suspended or-
Suspended, or not had the
Not had,
second meeting or the committee meeting that goes with it.
Right.
So I would move that we suspend the second meeting of December this year and
Second.
move our next committee meeting to the date in January.
First Monday in January, I think it's the 3rd. So, all right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call?
Watson.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores.
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
All right, with that, I'm sure the council, I'm speaking for the council when we wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and we'll be back in committee on January 3rd. So do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion and a second, we're adjourned. Thank you all, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you.